Yo, welcome to Enter the Dungeon. My name's Sam, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about VeDAO, the VE33 wars. What is VE33? And a special friend of ours inside the Dungeon Discord joined me for a fireside chat. Let's call it that. Infinite friend. He came in to explain all of this stuff to me because honestly, I was getting a little bit behind the curve. I have no idea at this stage what's going on with Andre Cronje's and Daniel Sesta's new project, Solid, and VeDAO that sprung up in the Fantom ecosystem to take advantage of Andre Cronje and Daniel Sesta's new project and to be able to lock in some governance voting rights in Solid. So again, Infinite Friend, thank you, my man. I really appreciate this. This was super helpful to me and I hope helpful to other people. If anybody out there wants to join us inside of our Discord, Into the Dungeon, find the link below this video in the description or in the comments. Jump through that. Remember to verify. Come say hello. Despite all this market destruction and this blood in the streets, the degens in the dungeon are still active. We're hanging out. We're making friends. We're aping into alpha calls and just in general enjoying crypto, enjoying life, and having a good time. So let's dive right into this. But first, just a quick disclaimer. Remember that I'm not a financial advisor, okay? Nothing that you see in this channel should be construed as financial advice. This is all for education and for entertainment purposes only. This is just stuff I'm interested in, okay? So be a big boy or a big girl. Only ape into things that you've done your own research on. And let's dive into this talk with my friend, Infinite Friend. All right, I'm recording now, and our friend in the dungeon, Infinite Friend, was super awesome enough to jump on with me really quick to help sort through the spaghetti of VeDAO, the VE33, the VE33 wars, what's going on over there, because it's a lot, and I've kind of, just like I said a moment ago to him, fallen behind the curve on this stuff a little bit. And just from like watching your posts in the dungeon, bro, like you clearly, you have like a lot of clarity around it, I think. And that's been super useful for me already. And I'm sure for a lot of other people just kind of who've been sidelined, wondering what's going on. It's like, man, like trying to keep up with like Daniel Sesta and Andre Cronje and like just the ecosystem that's like exploding around these guys and their cults of personality, and like the money that's just flowing in. Like it's like a full-time job, man, just kind of just paying attention to what's going on. So the fact that this whole like crazy, the VE33 wars popped up around that, like I think it's wild. It's an interesting narrative and it's kind of entertaining, like being on the side of that and like just wondering what's going on. So I don't know, dude, maybe a good place to start with all the knowledge you have locked up is just kind of like maybe what you think the like a little bit of the background there, just maybe a little bit of how it started and like what it even means. You know what I mean? If you have some thoughts on that.
Yeah, sure. Good to be chatting with you, Sam, and thank you for inviting me here to do this.
Yeah, so thank you, man.
What I'm going to do, I appreciate the kind words also about my posts on this. I have been digging into this a lot, and let's see if I can explain it well. I do think I understand it pretty well. Let's see if I can explain it to you guys well.
Awesome.
So the main thing to understand about this is that I see it as the curve wars for the rest of us.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So the curve wars played out on
for the whales, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it was for the whales, and it kind of happened so under the radar that by the time any normie knew about it, you were way late to the party. So,
right.
Now we have a chance. So what are the curve wars, and then that will kind of explain exactly what's going on here. So Curve is an automated market maker, basically, for stable coins.
Yeah.
And the way that they rewarded people for providing liquidity was a mixture of the coins that they were providing liquidity for. Like if you were in USDC DAI, you would get some USDC and DAI for providing liquidity, and you would get as a kicker the CRV governance token.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and in the beginning, the CRV governance token was thought of as like a total shitcoin, and people were just dumping them. But some whales figured out, since this is a governance token, it has voting rights, and if we stake it, then we have voting rights. And so with those voting rights, we can direct into what pools the rewards actually go.
Yeah.
So, USDC DAI may end up getting almost nothing in rewards, and USDC MIM may get everything if the whales who have all the CRV vote that way.
Right.
Yep. And so that really started the arms race for the Curve token. Mm-hmm. And you have to lock it and vote. Lock it and vest it to vote, which is I forget exactly what the acronym VE is, but that basically means that you've
vote escrowed, I think. Yeah,
you've vested your Curve.
Yep.
And so that was like Curve Wars 1.0, where people, buying Curve and just voting to try to, pump their own liquidity pools.
Mm-hmm.
What happened then is people realized, well, now this is kind of a big market. It's going to cost me too much money to get access to the amount of Curve I need. So what I'll do instead is, if I have a new stable coin, I have UST, I just made UST, and I want there to be liquidity on Curve.
Right.
I can just find out I can go to the whale Curve holders, and I can bribe them. Legitimate, like I can send them money to vote my way.
Right.
And so now that's another way that Curve whales were making money, was also through bribes.
Right.
And so then something very interesting happened. And that was like 2.0. Then 3.0 came around, which is other groups starting DAOs basically to have Curve voting rights.
Mm-hmm.
And the most successful is Convex.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so Convex, how they work is, if you get some Curve, you give it to them, and they'll give you Convex CVX instead of CVR. And what they'll do is they will, allocate your votes for you. They will collect your bribes for you, and they will, spit back some return in CVX to you.
Yeah.
And that's how that works. And then you have like other decent sized players like Redacted Cartel. What they're doing is trying to collect enough Curve to really challenge Convex, because Convex has sort of won the Curve wars for now.
Right.
So that's the background. Does that all compute anything about?
Yeah. So
yeah.
No, absolutely, man, and that's something I'm pretty well familiar with too. And there's a lot of players obviously vying for like Curve governance rights. But it's just so interesting how that has. I mean, that in itself is like worthy of plenty of videos, But so I love what you said earlier too about how VeDAO is almost like Curve Wars for the rest of us, right? Like for the frogs, for the small frogs. So how do you see it like that? Because I think that's super fascinating, right? Because that gives some agency to the small players, right? And like, in a sense, in a real sense, maybe even in the direction of Fantom itself, which is like maybe something we could like circle back around to, like how much these are big players on Fantom, obviously, and we'll have a lot of weight going forward. So if the small kind, right, like the small frogs, have some real power here, like I find that super fascinating.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's why Danny and Andre are doing this. So, the VE33, which if you're interested, if anyone who's listening is interested, definitely read Andre Cronje's Medium post about this. But basically, it's going to be something similar to Curve, but it's going to be native to Fantom. So it's going to be cheaper and easier to use than, I mean, Curve is on different protocols too, but it's, sort of like an ETH first sort of.
We're talking about Solid right now. That's the name that seems to be getting passed around is Solid, right?
Yeah, Solid. And so what they're going to do is they're going to make that a Fantom native automated market maker. It will not be just stables. It'll be stables and, other tokens on the Fantom ecosystem. And they're going to reward people who provide liquidity on it in similar ways. So it will be both, some trading fees in the form of the 2 tokens that you're providing liquidity to, and it will be the Solid. I think they're calling the actual token of the platform Rock.
Okay.
So I think you'll be getting, if you stake on Solid, you'll get Rock in return.
Nice. Rock Solid.
Yeah. Rock Solid, exactly. So, and then also if you have this, so the way they're doing the initial distribution of the Rock, which will also have voting rights similar to the Curve, is by giving it to the 20 biggest protocols,
right?
DeFi protocols on Fantom.
Yeah, and that's I'm sorry, man. No, I was just gonna say, like, that's an interesting choice, right? So, I mean, it makes sense to essentially create goodwill across the largest players in Fantom. But any idea why they chose that route versus like an IDO or some kind of pre-sale or just all the other various ways that they could have launched it?
Yeah, I did listen to, they had an AMA the other day where they were talking about this, and as far as an IDO, they really didn't want to raise investor money. I think they just didn't want the hassle of it.
Yeah,
they're both highly doxxed, so if it goes bad,
it seems kind of in line with their whole ethos too, like their whole brand that they're creating right now around the frogs and like the Frog Nation and fair launches, and it just seems to be kind of like a general direction that I don't know about Andre, but Danny especially seems to take with a lot of his it's like empowerment for the little guy, right?
Yep, definitely. Yeah, so that's what they decided, that they're going to give out these governance tokens to the Rock tokens to the 20 biggest DeFi protocols on Fantom, and basically they're going to first issue an NFT, and the NFT is going to represent your rights to the governance tokens.
Yeah.
And so when that happened, within a couple of days, basically none of these protocols, like Spooky Swap, for example, or Spirit Swap, none of them said what they were going to do when they got those tokens. None of them promised that they were going to give them to the users, although maybe they might have to. Otherwise, people might leave their platforms if they feel like they got screwed out of it. But none of them have promised, as far as I know.
So they left a huge opening.
I'm an amateur following this, so if someone wants to fact check me, I'm very open.
Sure. But they ultimately they left a massive opening, and so did Danny and Andre, right? And so that is what led to these like VeDAO jumping into the fray, because an immediate opening, a chink in the armor of the top 20 protocols was like immediately available, right? Like they just were, especially if these top protocols weren't incentivizing their user base and really coming forward with plans for what to do with this, then they kind of immediately left an opening for competitors.
100%. Yeah. And so almost instantly, not almost instantly, I should say, after a few days, VeDAO announced that they had formed, and they were basically they opened up a farm to farm their native token, which is Weave, WEVE.
Yeah.
And Weave, I think you can think of very similarly to Convex, the CDX. And I hope the DAO, I'm an investor in all 3 of the projects I'm about to talk about. So
sure,
I would like to see them all go the Convex route. deposited liquidity on VeDAO, you were mining Weave.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it started out, as you can imagine, at very high APRs, and the APRs shrank.
Mm-hmm.
However, you can also just buy the token. So I don't have a ton, but what I do have, most of it I just bought on Spirit Swap.
Right.
So
just market buy.
Like 10 cents now. Yeah, just market buy. But
Yeah.
I'm also farming some there because having money there, supports the effort to be in the top 20.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's amazing is not only did it make the top 20, but within one fucking day, it was over $1 billion.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, when I think it was your tweet actually that I saw about that. And I just, at first I thought it must have been a typo, I was like,
yeah.
I mean, for one, like Fantom is a very young chain in a way, like mobilizing that much capital on Fantom that quickly. Like I wouldn't have suspected in a million years that it was even possible to run it that quick. But this is crypto, man. Like it moves so fast. It seems amazing that these projects, these DAOs can launch off of off of Danny and Andre's tweets basically. And within 48, 72 hours, they've ported over like $1 billion onto Fantom, and it's just crazy, but it happens.
So that's, and I think that's sort of like, so people, all of us saw that $1 billion, being attracted literally less than 24 hours. I think it topped up to like $2.5 billion at one point over the last day or two.
Insane.
And some people thought, well, that's kind of shitty. Actually, they're just gaming the system and they're like sucking value from other protocols.
Yeah.
And they have no purpose, other than to get this be one of the 20.
But they were more nimble than the top 20 that were already on there. They moved quicker, they moved with conviction, and they like nailed it.
Yeah, and it's like thousands of people in that DAO, and again, I'm one of them, so whatever. I'm biased, but I think it won at least 4,000. Maybe the last I saw was at least 4,000 wallets. So a lot of people, banded together to get in this game. And, we have a roadmap, I think, and the roadmap is Convex.
Yeah.
Because now we'll have this Weave token, and some of us have more than others, and we'll get voting rights based on it.
Convex for Fantom, basically.
Yeah, yes. But it's not going to be the only one, because so I should also mention that right now it's the number 2 protocol. After any swap, it's the number 1 protocol, basically.
It's insane.
On Fantom.
It's insane. Yeah. So that brings us to the wars, right? To the VE wars, because they were maybe first to market on this idea of, swiping one of Danny and Andre's NFTs, but not the last. Because I mean, immediately, like something that's successful, like you're gonna get more teams trying to do the same thing. So, and this is where I've like lost track of a lot of this, and that's where I think I saw your comment in the dungeon in the Discord actually about the wars, and I was just like, wait, wars? Like this sounds fun. I want to hear more. Dramatic.
Okay. So some of the people who were butthurt about this whole thing were some of the guys who founded other protocols on Fantom, and not even ones who got knocked out by VeDAO. I mean, the ones right now, the ones that are like knocked out is something called Market, which I don't know what that is, and Yoshi Exchange, which I don't know what that is. But the guys from Spooky and Scream, and I think Liquid Driver, they thought, well, it's shitty what these guys have done, so we're gonna launch a vamp attack. And they announced it. They called it oxtail. It's live now. They announced it a couple days ago that they were going to have a vamp attack, meaning they're going to try to suck TDL from VeDAO and build up their own war chest and get their own NFT.
Oh man!
And, yeah. So
you can't make this stuff. You couldn't make this stuff up, right? Like. Exactly.
Now, I think that they are planning to distribute whatever governance earnings tokens they get to whoever is in oxtail. I don't think that they plan to go the Convex route, although again, I'm learning this stuff as I go, and I'm very open to being fact checked if I'm wrong about that. But whatever the case is, they opened up today with extreme APRs to attract people to suck liquidity out of VeDAO.
Mm-hmm.
And what's amazing is, I mean, they did suck some liquidity out of VeDAO. I think it's down, like, looking at DeFi Llama now, it's down around 21% of TVL. But they've raised $1 billion almost. Yeah, they launched at 3 o'clock Eastern today. It's not even 5 o'clock Eastern today. So I think a lot of new money just came into the oxtail.
Yeah.
And, is clearly they're in the top 20. They're probably number 4 right now. They haven't posted to DeFi Llama yet, but they're
crazy.
They have almost $1 billion. That would make them number 4, and they'll probably pass Spooky as well. It's probably going to be AnySwap, VeDAO, and then oxtail as the top 3 protocols on Fantom.
And these are things. I mean, a couple thoughts on that. Like, number one, I think with VeDAO launching, they actually initiated a lot of capital coming over to Fantom from other chains, right? So that's got to be, even if they go on to like not do much, that's got to be a net positive for the ecosystem overall. But these other these other the other DAOs like oxtail, are they bringing capital over from like ETH or from AVAX, for example, or is it mostly people? Is it mostly now the small people taking their stake out of like, VeDAO and moving that over to oxtail, for example, their capital, in hopes that that's going to be a better long-term play for them or something like that? Like, where's the capital coming from?
Well, given the amount that has been lost at a VeDAO is much less than the amount that has been grown in oxtail, I think again that people are coming over from other chains probably. And let's just see what is the overall Fantom.
Mm-hmm.
It's up today.
Yeah.
On a day when every chain is going to be down.
Right. Right. Like, if anything is going to truly
down 7%.
Yeah. Yeah. If anything is going to truly kick off Fantom season, like with some serious energy behind it, it's going to be this, right? Because it was already like Fantom season was kind of already just in the wings. Like, it was already starting to get pretty hot on Fantom.
And so there's one other project that I also want to mention.
Sure.
Because again, it's a third purpose-built DAO. It's called Radial Finance. And Radial Finance, so on oxtail, you provide liquidity and you farm their native token, which is OXD.
Mm-hmm.
It works basically the same, the mechanism of getting it is the same as VeDAOs. However, there's a third player called Radial Finance.
Okay.
And basically what they've done is they've tried to be like the nice alternative. Oxtail is very combative and like nasty towards VeDAO. And so these are the guys in Radial are like the softer, softer guys in this. And one way that they've done that is they've allowed for single staking of Weave. So you can provide liquidity, you can single-sidedly stake Weave, which is, the VeDAO reward token. And, which is kind of hysterical and also great because, the only other way to do anything with Weave right now is to stake it with MIM, and there is certainly a risk of impermanent loss, in that scenario. So here you can do something with your Weave with zero risk of impermanent loss with Radial.
Wild, man. Like, it totally is definitely spaghetti.
Yes.
So, like, do you get
a couple of other points about Radial?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
If I could. One is that they have no APR. They don't have their own token yet. They're just going to, whatever you put with them, they're going to figure out what proportion you were at the time of the snapshot. So the snapshot for the top 20 is on Sunday, and they will just figure out what proportion of liquidity you provided, and then they'll give you something to represent that. And the other point I wanted to make about the whole thing is, Andre, when he and Danny had an AMA, someone asked Andre what he thought of VeDAO, and he said, I would say that it was an endorsement to a very tepid endorsement, in that he said, I have mixed feelings. These people were not building on Fantom before, as far as I know, but they have brought money to Fantom, and this is part of the, they're playing by the rules. So, basically they're not going to be, none of these are going to be blacklisted. All of these DAOs are going to be, they're going to get their NFT if they're in the top 20. Mm-hmm. And so right now, VeDAO is 2, oxtail is 4, probably soon to be 3, mm-hmm. and even Radial is 15. So man, all 3 of them that were purpose built for this seem like they're going to make it.
That's insane. It's insane. And so I guess the main criticism right now is essentially, I mean, to me, it looks like a net positive because we basically exploded capital and liquidity on Fantom, right, in a way, and just brought so many new users, which is bullish long term. Like, I don't know if it's bullish in the short term, just based on the macro like environment we're in, but bringing that much capital over to Fantom to me is definitely bullish long term, because eventually people are going to be like, let me try to reallocate this into other places, But so the main criticism right now, it seems like, though, is basically that these VeDAO, oxtail, Radial, they've launched purely for the intention of getting one of these NFTs. So, like, I guess my question, and this is where I've sort of lost, I stopped doing my research in a way, was, is there any utility to any of these, like, beyond just trying to grab one of these NFTs? Like, is there any like products that are being built around any of them or being announced yet? Like anything that's actually useful to the Fantom ecosystem other than the fact that they've helped bring a ton of capital over?
I think that what these projects are going to actually do after they get the NFT is still, that story needs to be written still, but they have several options. One option would be sell the NFT, right, and then distribute the capital that they get to the investors. That would be mm-hmm. one. That's probably the least long-term value, but that's one thing that could be done. 2 would be if they get a bunch of the ROC tokens, just to give them out to whoever invested, mm-hmm. and that's a fair distribution method in my view. That would be fine. And the third way, and the way in which I kind of hope that they go, is to be convex, uh-huh. to be set up to maximize the voting, the governance rights, mm-hmm. to collect and distribute the bribes. So, and they might all choose different routes on that. But I think that they've brought people together, they've brought capital together, mm-hmm. They probably will accomplish what they set out to do, as long as they can hold it together till Sunday. And
wild times.
Look, this is DeFi, this is Gen DeFi. These people who are like screaming about, it's not fair that they just, carpetbagged us. These people are like forked. All they do is fork protocols or something and put them on Fantom. So I mean, spare me the morality play.
And they'd be like the biggest, they'd be the loudest voices, right? If they had entered into any of those early enough, or if they were the benefactors. Yeah, I mean, to me, like, man, like Danny and Andre came out and they gave some pretty broad rules to the game. And some people stepped up and they took advantage of it. And there may be some big winners here, and there may be some big losers too. Some people might get knocked off that top 20 spot who maybe were very deserving because they've been building on Fantom forever. Or it's not that old of a chain, but like they've done a lot of good there, But the market decided, in a way, the market decided, right? Like there was an opportunity and some people grabbed it. And to me, like I said, to me, the net benefit to Fantom overall, to me, is worthwhile. And also just watching the drama, like watching it play out, is, I mean, it's kind of fun.
I agree. It's been super fun, and I think that the people, I'd like to think, and we'll see what happens, but I'd like to think that the people who have, aped in hard on this are people who want to have a say in the health of the, the direction and the health of the Solidity, protocol, and we'll make that a success, which will keep bringing people to Fantom and keep people on Fantom. So I think Danny and Andre, they knew what they were doing when they set up this.
Oh,
so
totally.
I'm sure they could predict various outcomes, and this was probably one of the outcomes they predicted. And let's see, maybe we're going to stick together, and maybe we're going to, all of us be the people sort of directing this new marketplace, on Fantom for years to come.
Right, and let's hope
I hope that's true.
Let's hope the frogs truly are the winners and not ground under the machinery of like massive players and whales and new protocols, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, one last point I'll make, and I actually have to run.
Okay, yeah, cool.
But I do want to make one last point, and this is also motivated because I'm a hodler, but Hector DAO is actually in the top 20.
I saw that.
And so, so they're going to be getting, probably, they're 18, they're actually 19 now.
Man.
They're 18, but they've been blown past by oxtail.
Yeah.
So they'll be 19. But if they can hold that 19th or 20th spot, then, they're going to get one of these NFTs, and that's going to be, depending on how they play it, that could be a big source of income for the Hector DAO for years. Yeah,
so they could work. I mean, that could be the thing, the catalyst that helps Hector DAO win the reserve currency war on Fantom, or if you want to call it that, right? And like, of course, me, like I aped into one of their competitors like right before all this happened. Right before the market nuke too.
Yeah. Ugly. No worries.
Down real bad.
Today from sale price like everything else.
Well, Infinite Friend, man, thank you so much, dude. I really appreciate you just jumping on, like clarifying a lot of this for me. Super useful for me. And hopefully get it posted up on a YouTube video or something too, and help spread the knowledge around. Because it's a big it's a tangled mess, but it's like and it's hard to keep up. It all moves so fast, man. So I appreciate you like just coming on and giving me some of your valuable time and everything you've done in the dungeon too, man, in the Discord and the community. Like very, very much appreciated. So thank you, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate those words, and I definitely would plug the dungeon. I think it's a great Discord. There's no, everyone is helpful and educational, and we shill to each other, but we only do it,
right.
Up front, like, hey, here's my shill. Not, no one's trying to take advantage of anyone.
Yeah,
nothing is under the table. It's a good community, a great community.
Yeah, it's needed, I think, out there to have a place where people can come and like people aren't screaming at them to diamond hand or to never sell. There's a neutrality. There's a sense of neutrality in there that I think is useful, especially for people who are new, who don't know what to do. Who are like, do I sell or do I hodl?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Cool, brother. Well, hope to talk to you again soon, man. And thank you so much, dude.
No problem. Hope it was helpful.
Absolutely was. Thank you, man. Have a great rest of your day.